If you've been following Justice Watch, you'll be aware of a ex-police officer known as PC Philip Towers 8008. After he assaulted me and then set up a false charge against me, I found out that his notebook had vanished. So I put in a complaint in December the 3rd, 2017. Just before PC Philip Towers, ex-PC Philip Towers, was allowed to retire during this investigation, we was lucky enough to have a statement from him, which reads as follows. Constable Towers states, "This is yet another lie perpetrated by a tedious time waster, that you make farcical allegations that in any other profession could be considered libelous." He would further express his hope that at some stage in the future the legal complaints process is amended so that members of the public can no longer harass officers wasting public funds with such malice allegations. Clearly, ex-PC Philip Towers did not provide any information about his police notebook. He didn't even deny losing or misplacing or destroying his notebook. There's no mention of his notebook in this statement. The statement was given in response to the complaint about him losing his police notebook. On March the 26th, 2018, the PSD got back to me. And this is what they said. Detective Constable Perry has conducted inquiries with the local area administration team and the officer's immediate line manager in relation to the whereabouts of Constable Towers' pocket notebook. Following these inquiries, it has been established that the whereabouts of the police notebook is unknown. So they've investigated and they know he had a notebook, but they don't know where it is. She continues to say, there is no evidence to suggest that Constable Towers deliberately lost or destroyed his police notebook. Well, how do they know that when they don't know where his notebook is? So his notebook could have been lost, it could have been stolen, or he may have found it. No one knows. Further on in the letter, it says, unfortunately, it has not been possible to locate the police notebook or ascertain exactly what happened to it. So they don't know where this notebook is. I found out that ex-PC Philip Towers lost his notebook on the 20th of October 2017 when I got back paperwork from Merseyside Police solicitors, which they've been investigating my litigation from the 25th of July 2017. So from July 2017, in this document, it states at the very bottom, the notebook of Constable Towers has been lost, misled, or destroyed on a date or date unknown. Considering that ex-PC Philip Towers was not only the arresting officer, not only the falsely established victim. He was also the investigating officer, so he was in charge of this case, this malice charge against me for Public Order Act, but calling him a cunt, which he is a cunt, and was a cunt, and will always be a cunt. That in itself is not a criminal offence, but that didn't stop ex-PC Fit-Up Towers attempting to take me to court. So you would think during his investigation he would have put notes in a notebook. He would have investigated something. There'd be notes in there, maybe saying when he contacted City Watch CCTV, when he contacted the Ministry of Justice CCTV, when he spoke to other witnesses, when he was informed about details on the log, which I put on the log for him to look at, which he never. All these details, you would think that he would write something in a notebook. In the Freedom of Information request, we found out that in 2017, Merseyside Police lost one paper notebook. I wonder if that was PC Fit-Up Towers, ex-PC Fit-Up Towers. In 2017, 38 devices with access to electronic police notebook applications were reported lost. They only found 7, so they lost 31 devices with this electronic pocket notebook on. So from what I've already told you, you would assume that ex-PC Fit-Up Towers had a police notebook when he assaulted me, and he had used a police notebook, whether it was a paper notebook or an electronic notebook. And you would assume that the police knew if it was lost or misplaced or destroyed. So the ICO got back to me today, and the mystery continues, because now Merseyside Police are stating that there was no police notebook in the first place. That's why it wasn't lost or destroyed or misplaced, because it didn't exist in the first place. Apparently, according to Merseyside Police, he handed in his paper notebook 2 or 3 days before he assaulted me, and then he never got a new notebook. He never recorded any information about this case, about him taking me to court, or my allegation of him assaulting me. But he did have electronic notebook, maybe, but maybe he never, because the police will not provide evidence of an electronic police notebook, nor will they provide evidence that he handed in a paper police notebook, or give a reason why he never had a police notebook from July 2017 up to his retirement in January 2018. Yeah.
What they've actually done is they've provided me with a chronology and a timeline. They've kind of investigated, because obviously I've written to them and said to them, we think you've breached the act.
So at first the ICO assumed that Merseyside Police and ex-PC Fit-Up Towers did in fact lose or destroyed his police notebook.
They've gone away and conducted some form of investigation into what we've said, and they've provided us a chronology and a timeline of everything relating to that officer, his notebooks,
right.
his way.
So wait. So we know everything about his police notebooks. Notebooks. Apart from this notebook, which may have existed, which may not have existed, which could have existed. Isn't that interesting?
Thereabouts. And what they've concluded is that for the period of that incident when you was arrested on that particular day, they don't believe that he actually had a pocket notebook.
Whoa. So they don't believe he had a police notebook. They don't believe, as in they don't know if he did or didn't. Why? How does no one know if he had or did not have a police notebook during those times?
And what they've done is they've provided evidence to say that they've been to their archives, and obviously they need to keep pocket notebooks for X amount of years, don't they, because in case of litigation. So when he retired in 2018, he did hand in pocket notebooks. And what they've uncovered is that they've got a pocket notebook, and 3 days before the incident occurred, that pocket notebook entry ended.
Now that's interesting, isn't it? 3 days before he assaulted me, there was no further updates about his notebook.
So what they think is because he wasn't working after that date.
So 3 days before he assaulted me, he wasn't working. And then the next day he was working was on the day that he assaulted me, apparently.
And then the next time he was working was when that incident happened. They don't think that he's had time to go and pick up a pocket notebook. And what he's actually done is, instead of recording your actual incident in a pocket notebook, he's actually recorded it electronically, which is allowed. And what they've said is that if he's recorded it electronically, he then doesn't need to go and put that entry in a pocket notebook as well.
So does he or does he not have a electronic police notebook?
Because it's already been recorded.
But it depends if that electronic thing is a electronic notebook, not just details put in a computer system somewhere.
Yeah, I've read their responses and it does look as if it's the pocket form.
No. It does look like it's in a pocket form. Looking is not the same as being. And we know what this information is, and we know it's not an electronic police notebook.
Because they were saying that he reverted to an electronic notebook further down the line.
Well, see, I told you. How could he fill in an electronic police notebook when he never had an electronic police notebook? He had it further down the line.
So what they're saying is they don't have any record whatsoever of him having this notebook, because obviously there's an administration department when obviously there's policies in place at the time. I think the policy is due to be updated, because I've noticed that when I looked it said to look at it again in 2018. But obviously the administration, he would have had to have shown his old pocket notebook, and they'd have to be satisfied that the pocket notebook had ended, and then he'd be issued with a new one. So they do have an issue of a new pocket notebook, but it doesn't cover the date of your incident.
So he had a new pocket notebook, but he also had a electronic pocket notebook. It's just all very confusing.
It's not as if the incident wasn't logged anywhere. It was a case of it was logged electronically. So at least he's done that, which is in accordance with obviously his job role and whatever legislation. But what they're saying is they've got no evidence to say that this pocket notebook's been lost.
But it has. No one knows where it is. So it's either lost or misplaced or destroyed.
No. What they're saying is they don't think he had a pocket notebook for that period. because a new pocket notebook started, because obviously we know he went on leave. You've said that in your stuff to me.
So when did he get a new? When did he say that he got a new notebook, or when he ended his last notebook?
He's not saying it because he's retired, and what they're saying is that they don't need to go and interview him at home about this pocket notebook. They said it's not in the professional standards, and to be honest, us at the ICO, we wouldn't expect them to go and interview him either about something.
But he would know though, because it's his notebook, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
He would know what's happened to his notebook.
Well,
because it's his property.
As I'm saying, they don't need, now he's left the job, he's no longer in employment by Merseyside.
Yeah.
They don't now need to go and interview him for the purposes of the ICO. I mean, you've wrote quite a lot of stuff to the ICO about you wanted to know all particular information, and we're not the right organisation to get you that information. We can't go that far in. I mean, you've asked a lot of questions about himself, and that would be his personal data. So you wouldn't have that information disclosed to you under data protection. Equally, if somebody tried to get information about you under data protection, you know, unless there was a major reason for it, we wouldn't release your data. But the purposes of my call today is, don't get me wrong, I mean, it's took me quite a while. I've done so much research on this, and I've read everything I can read about notebooks. And I mean, to be honest, I used to be a fraud investigator myself.
Yeah.
And I did used to use a pocket notebook. So I know all kind of the rules surrounding pocket notebooks. I know they're controlled stationery. And when I wrote to Merseyside Police, the first thing I said is, this is controlled stationery. And quite rightly, like you pointed out, things need checking. Things need to be documented.
So was his notebook? So he did have a police notebook, and then he
had a notebook. What ended his last entries? Obviously, he'd filled his notebook up about so many days or a day or two before he was on duty. So he's returned to work.
Oh, so he filled in his notebook before he returned to work. What did he put in his notebook if he wasn't working? Did he retroactively fill in his notebook? If he wasn't working, why would he fill in his notebook?
And then there's been an incident with yourself, and he's not had a pocket notebook, because you have to go to a central located unit to go and pick up your notebook.
That notebook then, that notebook before he assaulted me, where's that?
They've got that. They've got that in the archives, and they've got another notebook what starts further down the line once his sickness has ended.
So the question is, when did he hand in this police notebook? Was it after he retired? We know his last entrance in that notebook was 2 or 3 or the day before he assaulted me. But that does not mean that was when he handed it in.
So they've got another notebook, and what they're saying is...
And that was in 2018.
Well, the thing is, this is why I'm ringing you as well. I can't fill in the gaps of this, that and the other relating to that man, because I'm subject to data protection. And the reason I'm ringing you today as well is because I'm not going to be able to support my first intention of saying that they've breached the Act because they've lost a notebook, because there's no evidence at the moment to suggest that they have. They've gone away, they've investigated, they've given...
Yes, they have investigated themselves, and they found themselves to be innocent. Funny, you would have thought that.
Me a chronology of everything, of why they don't think this particular notebook existed when you was arrested, yeah? So I can't...
But I do have police documentation saying that he did have a police notebook and he lost it.
If you just let me say what I need to say just so I can get my train of thought. So I can't support that. So I'm going to have to say, look, you know, they've said this. We can't support the view that they've lost a notebook because there's no evidence to suggest that. They've gone away, they've researched. But what I can't do is fill in the gaps for you and give you the timelines and the time frame, because some of it's his personal data. What I can suggest, though, is that you can email me and say, please, can I have a copy of Merseyside's response to the ICO? Yeah?
Yeah.
Then what I would need to do is forward on that to our department that deals with those types of disclosures. Then what they need to do is go to Merseyside Police and say, David Holmes has requested a copy of the response to the ICO. Can we give him a copy?
Yeah.
And more often than not, they'll say yes, they can have a copy. What they might do is screen it, and if there's any personal data, what they think they don't want you to know about the officer, you know, because it could well be medical information.
Yeah.
You know, you will be, they'll black it out, but then say to us at the ICO, right, black that out. We're happy for him to have a copy. And I think that's a better way forward now for you, is if you request that. I can't give it you directly.
Yeah.
I'd like to, but I'm subject to data protection. So if I go and give you a copy, I'll be in breach of the Act. So
yeah, so
you do that.
That piece of
send a
document,
request.
you know that piece of documentation which I sent about him, about it's from Merseyside Police, from their solicitors, and they're saying that Towers has lost or misplaced, or his notebook has been destroyed at a unknown date, at a unknown time. What does that mean?
Let me just go into.
See, the Merseyside Police did know.
I've read something from what you've sent me where they're just saying that they're unsure, and that's why I based my assessment on what you've provided, because you sent. I mean, it's quite a lengthy letter what they sent, and they're basically just saying that, you know, because they can't find it, they're just saying, oh, it looks as if it's been misplaced, which is a reasonable assumption. Yeah.
Why can't they find ex-PC Philip Towers' notebook when it was logged and archived apparently 2 or 3 days before he assaulted me when he was on holiday? Huh? Surely it would have said that he did not have a notebook during those times, and therefore his police notebook is non-applicable. They wouldn't say it was lost or misplaced or stolen or destroyed, because it would be archived. If he'd reported his notebook as stolen or lost or destroyed, it would have been recorded, or should have been recorded by him. So why wasn't it?
To say to somebody, well, we can't find it, so it must have been misplaced. So what I've then done is wrote to Merseyside and said to them, I think you've breached the Act because there's been this lost notebook, and I've invited them to make inquiries and to come back, and more often than not they'll come back and say, yeah, we hold our hands up, this is, you know, we've done the wrong thing.
Of course. Merseyside Police owning up to their mistakes. Yeah, of course.
It's what's going forward. But what they've actually done is the data protection team have gone away and they've done some background digging and some research, and they've come back with this big chronology of why they don't think that in actual fact this pocket notebook existed. So what I'm saying is you've got more knowledge of probably anything.
So the notebook which we do know that he did have, was that reported as ever lost or stolen or misplaced?
Well, which one? The one what ended
the one before he attacked me. Yeah,
that's in archives. They've got that. He's handed that in. That's in archives.
And that's never been reported as lost or misplaced or stolen or.
Well, why would it need to be? It's not, because it's not lost or.
So that means that the solicitor, the police solicitor who's referring to a notebook must be this second notebook, because that was reported as lost or misplaced or destroyed or stolen.
Well, they just don't know. At that point, they were saying to you that they don't know. It looks as if it's been misplaced. But what I'm saying is, subsequently, we've got involved. They've carried out an investigation, And what they're saying is that he did record your incident electronically, which is allowed, and he doesn't then need to go and put it in a pocket notebook. What he's done is, after the incident, so many times, when he's got back to wherever he's got back to, within the specific time frame, he's put your incident down, so it's not as if
but that's just like just filling in the logs. That's not an actual police electronic diary, if you know what I mean.
Well, I don't know. Have you had a copy of that? Have you seen a copy of it?
Of the electronic notebook.
Of what he's written in the electronic format.
No, nothing.
Well, so I don't know myself.
So the ICO hasn't seen a copy of his electronic police notebook, which may exist or may not exist, or could have existed. I don't know.
Exactly.
All I have is his statement, which he did, which was recorded electronically.
But going forward, I mean, you've had professional standards look at it. We've given you our view.
So basically, the ICO just follows what the PSD say. So what's the point in having the ICO?
But going forward, what do you think the ICO can or can't do at this stage for you now? They've come back and provided me with a lot of information to say that we don't even think he had a pocket notebook on the state, and these are the reasons why. You're, to me, still kind of dubious, and you're thinking that he does.
But they say that they don't think. They're saying that they don't think, because don't think is not the same as saying no, he did not have a notebook.
Well, if I can explain under data protection, under the security of data, it's Principle 7. Now, the breach of the principles in data protection are not a criminal offence. So we don't look at the burden of proof as in a criminal matter. So we wouldn't be looking at it beyond reasonable doubt. So we wouldn't be going back and, like you've quite rightly pointed out, that's not quite saying that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we were looking at it from a criminal perspective, we'd have to get certainty because we're looking at beyond doubt. Now, because it's not criminal, it's civil. So we're looking at it from a balance of probability. So that's why we can't be certain, and that's why they don't need to be that specific, and it can be maybe, if, but unlikely, likely. So we're looking at it from...
So Merseyside Police did not have to tell me if ex-PC Philip Towers had a police notebook. They can turn around and say, well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, I don't know. But he could have, but we're saying that he never. So, therefore, he couldn't have lost or destroyed his notebook because he may never have had one in the first place. We don't know, but we're just, we don't have to tell you the truth. We don't have to give you a fact. They can't factually say that he did have a police notebook or he did not have a police notebook. Why is it this big conspiracy? Why can't this just be simple?
A different burden of proof, so we're not here to kind of prove beyond doubt to you that yes, there's been some lies told or they're not being quite truthful. We're only here to give you a view based on what you're saying and based on what they're saying. Initially, when I looked at it, from what you were telling me and from that letter I've read, they're saying it looks as if it's been mislaid, but they've gone away and they've now done some research and they don't think that he's had a pocket notebook.
Research, yeah, bullshit. So basically the ICO is siding with the police narrative rather than my narrative, because the police are more honest and truthful than me, I guess.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here and saying, I totally believe what they're telling me. That's not what I'm doing, and equally I'm not sort of, saying, oh, they're lying, I don't quite agree with them. What I'm saying is, at the moment, there's nothing for me to say to you and say to Merseyside, well, I still think that you've breached Data Protection Act. I still think there's been a security issue, because I haven't got enough information for me to turn around and say.
Did they say what was the reason why he stopped using his notebook.
Well, this is what I can't tell you. This is what
okay.
I'm trying to. This is why I'm ringing you up. I'm subject to data protection, so I can't exactly tell you everything. What they're saying to me, I can only pick a little bit.
But there is a reason why he stopped using his written notebook, and then went electronic. They gave an explanation.
So one ended. He'd filled up one notebook, and that ended.
As in ended, as in what he filled in all the pages, and he needed a new notebook.
Yeah. So if you fill it in, it comes to the end of the notebook, and then you need a brand new notebook, don't you? So for the period, what they're saying is, for the period your incident took place, he didn't have a new notebook.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why. That's what they're saying. They don't think he had a new notebook. There's no evidence to suggest he went and picked up a new notebook. Because if he had gone and picked up a new notebook at that time, we would expect if I finish my notebook on a Friday afternoon and my next time I'm in work is on a Saturday, but I can't get to the central unit and pick up a new notebook. The next time I can pick it up might be a week down the line. Then obviously the entries are going to start. I don't know how it works for the police force, but I know normally.
Notice how she's talking about when the entrances start and end in the police notebook. I think this is what she is basing the date on when he handed in his police notebook. Because they're saying he handed it in 2 or 3 days or the day before he assaulted me, based on the fact that his last entrance was 2 or 3 days before he assaulted me. But he could have handed the notebook in weeks after he assaulted me, or days after he assaulted me, months after he assaulted me, and just not written anything in the diary.
Notebook, he'd write things about when you're on annual leave and things like that. But he has written something electronically, which the force is telling me is sufficient. He doesn't need.
And have you seen that information, that specific electronic information that they're saying that he recorded?
I don't need to see it.
Also,
that's not the issue.
So basically, it could just be what I've told you, that it's just his statement which he made, which was made electronically.
Well, I don't think that they're lying to me. They'd be stupid.
I think they are on that. I think they are.
They'd be stupid enough to come to me and say, "Oh, but he wrote it down in electronic." They'd be stupid to do that.
So they are saying, Mirsad Police are saying that he wrote something down in his electronic police notebook. We never had a electronic police notebook when he assaulted me. This came afterwards, apparently. But you haven't seen that though. You haven't seen that electronic notebook data.
But I don't need to, because
you do if they're lying. Because that would prove if they were lying or telling the truth.
Well, then you're the data subject, and it's your information, and that's why I said to you at the beginning of the thing.
So it's up to me then. So it's up to me to go to Mirsad Police and ask for that electronic data.
I did say to you, have you seen it? Have you requested it?
No.
You can put in a request.
But they have referred to this electronic data as his personal statement which he made, which was made electronically. But that isn't a police notebook. That is his statement, his witness statement.
That goes beyond the realms of what I can do, because it's not for me to understand how police procedures work.
So, did Merseyside Police lie to the ICO, saying that ex-PC Philip Towers did write in a entrance into his electronic police notebook? Because they are referring to his witness statement, which he used as evidence against me, the only evidence used against me. But a witness statement is not a diary entrance, and you do not write a witness statement in your diary. He wrote that with his solicitor at the police station when I was in the cell.
to the ultimate. Obviously, you take your complaint to the police standards department, and they should know their role.
Yeah, the PSD, the gatekeepers to the truth. Fucking hell.
And equally, it's the IOPC if there's
don't get me started with those fuckers.
If there's an issue, and they're the ones with the knowledge about how police systems work, and unfortunately I don't. I'm just here to decide if there's been a data breach. And from the information I've got, I can't now support what I originally said to you. What I can suggest is, if you want to know the in-betweens, the if, buts and maybes, so you can then go away, and if further down the line evidence does transpire that, yes, you think he did definitely have one, I can certainly look into it again. But before we can even go down those routes, my advice to you is to ping me an email.
Yeah.
Send me an email saying, can I please have a copy of the police force's response to the ICO.
So
I'll put the wheels in motion at the ICO, and within about 30 days, something will come back from the ICO, and it'll either be the full copy of what the police have said, or it'll be a redacted version where they've took bits and pieces out because it's his data, not yours. But that, for me, is the way forward.
But have they definitely said that he's recorded a electronic diary notebook entrance? Not he's recorded electronic information, but have they specifically said he's recorded?
Let me just look exactly on that point, exactly how they phrased it. Let me have a look. He made a witness statement directly into niche.
That's what I just told you.
So we made it directly into niche, and they're saying that it was made within 4 hours of the event.
Yeah. But that is
and
not.
then it's saying, in these circumstances, there is no necessity for an officer to replicate the detail of the statement in their PMB.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying.
They've told me the same shit.
They've said that he's recorded it on niche electronically.
Yeah.
But
that is not a electronic diary entrance though. That's just electronic information that he's recorded, which doesn't mean he had a notebook or didn't. You get me?
Yeah.
A electronic notebook is not the same as just recording a statement electronically.
But what they're saying is that there was no need for him to replicate that detail.
That's true. Anyway. That's true. But
so that's what they're saying. So that's why they're saying that he may not have had a pocket notebook on him because he's put it into niche, and there's no reason for him then to go and replicate that.
So you may not have had a police notebook. May. It's either he did have a police notebook, he did have a electronic police notebook, or he didn't. It's why is it this conspiracy? What? Yeah, that's true. That is true. But that's not his diary. It's not a electronic diary. So
But that doesn't prove that he had one and he's lost his notebook.
Yeah, but it also proves that he's never used a electronic diary. Because an electronic diary is not making a statement and put it into niche. Because he was the victim. He claimed he was the victim.
What I can do, because obviously my role isn't to investigate the police and whether they had a pocket notebook and whether he should have used it under pace and whether there's guidance and that's what he should have done. That's not my role. My role is to decide if he's lost his pocket notebook. And what I'm saying is there's not enough information for me to suggest that he has lost his pocket notebook. I think the better way forward is if you send me an email saying, can I have a copy of the police's response, and then I'll set all that up for you, and within 30 days you'll get a copy of it. And then once you've got that, you can clearly see what they've written. You understand it better than me. If there's anything after that where you need to go back to the force and ask them for more information about you and that incident and where it was recorded, etc., then that's why. But if there's
but you do understand what I'm saying, the difference between a electronic police notebook and just data being put on a computer.
case all the way through from start to finish, my view is, should these officers always have a notebook to write something in? Is that what they have to do every single day? Because in my view, I thought...
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be paper. It can be electronic, which is fine. You know.
What I'm saying is it sufficient to put that on niche? And the police will be able to, obviously...
Well, that's what I'm saying. If that's what the policy is now, then there's no need for any police officer to have a police notebook.
Well,
They're just
I think some have from what they've said further down the response, they've mentioned electronic notebooks.
Yeah.
And they're saying that he did have an electronic notebook further down the line.
So they've definitely said further down the line.
But not at the time. Not at the time of your incident, because what he's done is he's come back and put it in niche. But as I say, it's not for me. It's not for me to.
You can't give me the date of that, or when he got an electronic notebook.
Well, that's when I said if you need to request a copy of the police's response from me, I can't just automatically give you all this information.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's the best way forward, is if you send me an email, then you know your case better than me inside out to work out if it does transpire down the line that, he should have had something at least, and you can prove that and come back to me and say that, then it gives me an avenue to go back to the force. What I've been scratching my head is if do these officers need to have a notebook at all times constantly? Because there's times when they haven't got a notebook on them because... it's picking them up. So, I mean, I can go away and independently ask the questions anyway and put that on the case for if you do come back down the line. But what I'm trying to say is that I can't now turn around and say, they still have breached the act, because they've supplied enough information to suggest that he may never have had something in the first place.
Yeah. Well, surely I've provided enough information proving that he did have a police notebook, but he decided to lose it or not fill in dates between the assault on me and his retirement.
So, I mean, I don't know what the notebook is significant for you going forward. I mean, was it that you wanted a copy of his notebook?
Yeah, because the chances are he would have lied about certain little details in it.
So the electronic stuff, what he's put on niche,
and also the fact that he may have lost or destroyed his notebook is serious. If that's
did you go
evidence.
To court? Did your matter go to court?
Yeah, it was
right, and then
thrown out.
But then when you was in court, and did you not speak to your solicitor or the judge? Have not had a copy of his notebook.
It didn't get that far. They dropped the case just before court.
Right, okay, I get you, right. Because I'm just thinking that's exactly what I would have done if it was me in court.
Yeah.
I would have said, well, he didn't even...
Well, I did ask in disclosure.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But they never actually disclosed his notebook, even though I asked for it.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no,
and that was before I knew that he had lost it or destroyed it.
Right.
So they wouldn't give me his notebook, before I knew it was even lost or stolen. And then when I found out it was either lost or stolen or destroyed, that's when, it was like, why?
Yeah.
Why don't they know?
Yeah. Did you request it at the time?
Yeah.
Right, so at the time you requested it,
my solicitor did.
A copy.
Yeah, she provided for disclosure for the court case, and they never disclosed any documentation.
Right, because it never got that far. It never got to the disclosure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they could have provided it at any time.
Yeah.
Even like a day before trial.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, if there was anything dubious though, and he hadn't written down the full facts of your incident, then it would be easy for him to go down the route and just say I've lost it, and go down that procedure of saying, oh damn, I've lost my notebook. But the fact that he never did that.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole point of this whole complaint, is to find out whether or not he did lose his police notebook, which no one knows if he did or didn't.
I don't don't know, maybe like saying maybe he didn't have it, didn't have a notebook, but I'm not the one to kind of determine that anyway. So I'll ping you over an email anyway, and I'll you email me and say, can I have a copy of the police's response? And then, you can always take it from there, and you can always come back to me in the future.
Well, how about if you find out how many pages are in that notebook, and see what was his last page that he wrote on?
Well, as I say, you've requested a copy of. They've given me dates, so as I say, I don't need to forensically look at this matter like a police would.
If you did see the actual notebook, though, you would be able to say, oh, it's only half full,
Well, they've said he's completed, it's been handed in, so it would have been a full notebook. I don't know why he would have handed in a half full notebook. It doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe he was trying to hide something.
I understand where you're coming from, but as I say, the best way forward now is for you to
send you an email.
Over an email. Say you can have a copy of the police's response, and then things might become more clearer in your mind about which way forward. Okay, that's my best advice going forward now. Alright then. Alright, as I say, you can always come back to me if you find out things down the line. The door's always open for you. I'm not shutting on you completely.
Cool.
And equally, I'm not turning around and saying, oh, I totally believe them. I'm just saying that I don't have enough information to sort of come back to you and say, I still agree with you.
It's difficult because they're the ones that decide what information they will provide. They can pick and choose.
We're not the type of organisation that conducts police investigations. We haven't got the resources, and the legislation says that we don't need to prove beyond doubt. All we need to do is give you a view. We just need to say to you yes or no. That's all we need to do. So that's why we don't go to these extents like the police would, and hauling people in for interviews and show us all your documents. Let's come down to your offices now. Let me see all your logs. That's not what we do. So unfortunately, we can't kind of prove your case as you would want us to. But don't get me wrong, I mean, we store everything on our system anyway, so if we had similar about Merseyside down the line, then we'd go, oh gosh, no, this is what you said. So we're here really to make sure that they put sufficient measures in place to make sure that, they've got procedures in place if someone loses a notebook. We know all of that. We just can't prove on this incident that that's what's happened. He's actually lost his notebook, even though it might look as if he has. I haven't got kind of any evidence to support that view, based on what Merseyside are saying. So, as I say, send me that email. The quicker we can get that in place, the quicker you can have a copy of Merseyside's response. All right then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.